உள்ளதுள்ள உள்ளது உள்ள பொருள் உள்ளலர உள்ளத்தே உள்ளதா உள்ளம் எனும் உள்ள பொருள் உள்ளல் எவன் உள்ளத்தே உள்ளபடி உள்ளதே உள்ளல் உணர்வாயே. Namo Ramana. With Bhagavan's immense grace, we have come to the final broad strokes that this wonderful painting, this Upanishad, is going to flourish and finish with having covered Namudalen Rendin, Ala Namaduvan Renduade. Now the 37, 38, 39, 40, Bhagavan is going to use huge strokes of the brush, broad strokes, with which the painting is going to be given perfection. This verse is a look at where the teachings land, Advaita, Dvaita or Visishta Dvaita, but only as a pointer, not as something to be argued about. The sadhana is the key thing. The next verse is on something beyond even the differences of the Dvaita, Advaita, Visishta Advaita, Buddhism, all Indian religions. That is about karma. Though they may have differences in what is the supreme state, almost all belief systems have this karma, the cause and effect, the rebirth cycle. That will be in the 38th verse. Vinay Mudal Namayin Vilaipayan Tuipom. All spiritual enterprise is about bondage and liberation. That will be the 39th verse. About bondage first. And 40th verse is about liberation. Bondage is dismissed as non-existent. So liberation becomes not required. And the nature of liberation as the annihilation of the ego is what is presented in the 40th verse. Not the discussion of what kind of liberation. There is only one, that is the total annihilation of all separative tendencies. These are the four huge but colorful brush strokes. I know very little about painting other than what I have read in literature, so I am only using the literature that I have read on these things, that broad brush strokes they refer. So we go into the verse 37. Sadhagattile duvidam, sadhiyatil adduvidam, ஓதுகின்ற வாதமதும் உண்மையல்ல, ஆதரவாய் தான் தேடும் காலம் தன்னை அடைந்த காலத்தும் தான் தசமனன்றி மற்றார். The Dasaman story is often repeated, but these stories of Vedanta need to be repeated. It is like japa and dhyana. So, as Akka would quote from Appalapattu, Santatam Salitpara Santoshamagave. We have to listen to these analogies, stories, legends reinvigorating ourselves. What is it that I have missed in my previous listening? What is it that is going to give that click? The Dasaman story, which is the favorite of Venkatesh ji and all of us, is that the 10 not so high IQ individuals, not with scores of 130, 140, 150, some scores they say in the US, based on 200 being maximum. Not so high IQ, they cross a river in spate, and since the river is in floods, though they are excellent swimmers, they get a doubt on crossing whether all have reached the other side. And when counting, as is usual for us also, when we engage in the world, we forget our own existence because we feel that something from out there is going to fulfill us, is going to make us feel complete. Like that, the 10 friends, while counting, they leave themselves out, and when even cross-checked, there are only 9. So they all start crying, and their lament is heard by a compassionate wayfarer who immediately grasps what has happened and asks them to hold out their hand and says, I will just strike you with this small stick and each of you shall count. And obviously the 10th person is miraculously reborn. And Bhagavan is asking, was the 10th man suddenly found, or was he always the 10th man? While the search was on and while the discovery Tanai Adainda Kalathum, he was always the 10th man. And Bhagavan says, the other stories like this are the Kantabharanam, where the lady having called for a party at 6 o'clock, at 5:45, she is searching for her favorite diamond necklace to wear and to shine in the party, and it has gone missing. She is running here and there, and the face is full of anxiety. And one of the relatives, to appease her, to bring her anxiety down, asks, why? What are you so anxious about? People are going to come in. Why are you so worried? And she says, see, just in 5 minutes, they are all going to be here. And I have lost my diamond necklace, the favorite one, you know. And the relative says, what is this? It is right there in your neck. Place your hand there. And the moment she places there, the diamond necklace is there. And the question is, was it suddenly brought about there or was it always there? And of course, Bhagavan says, Rama was always Vishnu. And Karna was always Rajaputra, or whatever you call that, whether he knew the source or not. He did not become the Rajaputra when Krishna informed him. In an attempt to bring him over to the Pandava camp, Sri Krishna reveals the identity. You are indeed Kaunteya. Did he become Kaunteya then? He was always Surya Putra. He was always Kaunteya. Karna, it is said, did he not have all those qualities of a Raja? Much more than even Yudhishthira and Arjuna. He had the qualities of a Raja. Even when he did not know who he himself was, he had those qualities. In fact, it is said, Arjuna complains to Krishna. Whenever it comes to dhana and dharma, you always take the sides of this fellow Karna. He is my enemy, and sometimes I wonder whether you want to deliberately make me feel something negative about him. And Sri Krishna deciding that only a practical demonstration will clear the issue, says, go, bring Yudhishthira. And he takes, it is said in the legend, he takes Sri Arjuna and Sri Yudhishthira to a spot where he has already created two huge mountains of gold coins, fresh from the mint. The mountains are shining, and he says, with your large hearts, with your best intent, give this mountains of gold away in Dhana. And they both sincerely go to that task. The Dandora is put, and the whole villages people are all streaming in, obviously. And to each one, he asks, how many are in your family? What kind of needs you have? Oh, that is all your need is, take 10 times that. And they give. they give. And by evening, not even a bit of the two hills is given away. Sri Krishna's broad-mindedness is like that. That wealth did not diminish by any extent at all. And a man is sent to Karna. Krishna says, go and get him. And Karna is brought to the spot, and Sri Krishna says, oh Karna, it is now your job that these two hills of coins I give away to you. And Arjuna and Yudhishthira, they have given it to me to hand it over to you. Now, you have to give this in dhanam to these people. Then Karna, he just calls the first man in the queue and says, take both these mountains. These are yours. If Karan can be called a Dani, Paramadani, what to call Bhagavan? He has taken the entire area of spirituality, gone to the apex, and is abiding there, right there, and is saying to each one of us, that wealth which is yasyormi matram bhuvanam samastam, where this entire creation is not even a single wave to the ocean of Bhagavan, that Bhagavan is saying, Tattvamasi, you are that ocean. What a Dhani. That is Advaita, says Bhagavan, that each one in the creation, subject to change, is in fact that changeless, that birthless, that deathless, that paripurna vastu, which is called Atman, Brahman, whatever you may call it. We have that one as our Guru. Where can we get such a dhani? Therefore, Advaita includes Bhakti. See, what do we feel about our Bhagavan? Advaita includes all the teachings. Advaita doesn't put away Dvaita. It doesn't say, don't do Bhakti. No. The moment you realize what the Advaitiya sage has given, what is the bhavana you get? You get all the Nava Bhakti, all the 9 types of Bhakti, you get automatically, they come there. To the broad, what to say, to the broad heart of Bhagavan, to his koduge, to his giving. Naturally, we yield ourselves. The 9th type, that Atma Samarpanam, is automatically in there. And all the rest of it, all the other 9 types, Shravanam, Sankirtanam, they are all automatically there. Who will not sing praises of such a one? Who will remain quiet when somebody asks, what is this Bhagavan has done to you? And sometimes, of course, Maunam becomes the greatest and natural giving. But then our hearts are full. It is but natural to have that devotion to that great one. And he says in this verse that Sadhakattile duvidam, sadhyattil adduvidam. That you are apart from me, O devotee, while doing the Atma Vichara, while doing the Bhakti. Don't think like that. That when you were seeking me, that you were apart from me, that was real. That there was a time when I had fallen down and Bhagavan had lifted me by the scruff of the neck. Don't say that, he says. Don't say that. There is no such story. There is no such story that you had a fall and some Bhagavan had come and lifted you up. All those stories are now merged in the Advithiya Vastu. Sadhagattile duvidam, sadhyattil adduvidam. Odugindra vadamadum unmayala. Let us for a moment dwell on what is this Visishta Advaita. There is a talk by Sarvapriyanandji, which is there in the net. You can just key in the YouTube, Dvaita Advaita. He has come through the formal school, and so vast and so detailed is his grasp of the whole area. It's no wonder that he has given such a comprehensive and lucid presentation of that whole area. So whatever I am going to talk about, the Visishta Advaita and Dvaita, are only from that talk. You can go in and refer. He says all other branches of interpretation of the Prasthanatrayi, all these branches are interpretations of Prasthanatrayi. The Advaita of Shankara, the Visishta Advaita, which came 200 years later, of Ramananjacharya, and the Dvaita of Madhvacharya, which comes later. Of course, none of them, they claim that they are teaching Advaita, Visishta Advaita, or Dvaita. They say that each one says they are teaching the Upanishads directly. They are teaching Vedanta. They are teaching the Brahma Sutras. They are teaching Bhagavad Gita. These three the Vedanta, Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, and the Brahma Sutra of Badarayana or Vyasa. These three, the same words are interpreted in three different ways. So much for interpretation and words. That's why Bhagavan says, Ekam, Aksharam, Hridi Nirantaram, Bhasate Swayam, Likyate Katam. How to write it? Forget about the hermeneutics or whatever they call the art of interpretation. The rules of interpretation, rather. They are so flexible and so varied that the same teachings can be interpreted in these three different ways. That sadhagattile duvidam, all the other branches, the Visishta Advaitam and the Dvaitam of Madhvacharya, and there are many Shuddha Advaita and other interpretations which call themselves in Advaita in some way. But since they include the Dvaita Bhavana at some time, they are not Kevala Advaita, which is the title given to Shankara's teachings. So it is Kevala Advaita versus the rest. Everything else is called as Dvaita because some element of separation from the changeless is taken to be real. Is taken to be real in the sense that that it is going to be there, especially in Dvaita. The heaven and hell, there is something called permanent hell there. That is there in Christianity also, in that part where the Dvaita is there, that there is a separation from God and the jivas, and that is real. Real means it is forever. So forever there is a bad place. There is a bad place forever also, because the limitation is also forever. Whereas in Advaita, that division has not come about. And in Visishta Advaita, the teaching is that the Paramatma is there and the Jivatmas are all part of him. And this part and the whole allows for sadhaka, the realization that we are all one whole, to find out that there is sadhana. Suppose there is a microbial being inside our body. Like that is the Jivatma and we are the Paramatma. But that microbe can inquire that am I only this or am I the energy that is permeating something larger than me? And it turns inward and finds the connection with all the other beings inside a human body. Then it comes to the Nandakumar energy. It feels that I cannot be apart from Nandakumar energy. Therefore, the unity or oneness is realized there. That is Visishta Advaita. That in sadhana, we feel we are a part of the Supreme Being, who is the whole, who is the para. So, the Ishvara or the Vishnu, they call the Supreme Being as Vishnu. Vishnu is always Swatantra, is independent, and the Jivas, like the microbes inside our body, they are having dependent, the Paratantra, dependent on the Paravastu, something greater than them, something beyond them. The Jivas have to depend for their existence. Sadhagattile duvidam. During sadhana, there is the Dvaita, the feeling that I am merely a small speck and Vishnu is the Sarva Vyapi. Then we do bhakti, all those. So the key element, he says, the difference between the two, that is Advaita of Shankara and all the rest, except Charvakas, he says that the key difference is that in Shankara, the path is laid with jnana, whereas all the rest, in whatever way they may call it, it is bhakti. So they are all called interpretation of Upanishads with bhakti. And in the course of our journey with Ulladu Narpadu and Anubandham, we have discovered that even the modern scientists, the psychologists like Carl Jung, philosophers like Kant, they are all bhakti margis. They all surrender. They all, Socrates, they come to the point of I do not know. And Socrates goes to the point of I know that I do not know. In fact, one of the modern thinkers who is also in the same Bhakti Marga, the Dvaita Bhakti Marga, he says we are all mere underservants. He is calling the jnanis, the liberated ones. The liberated ones are mere underservants of pure knowledge, clearing up a little bit of debris here or there as allowed by jnana, as allowed by the pure knowledge. So we find even the so-called inquirers into science, who should apparently look like the inquiry by using their intellect, are all bhakti margis, all use surrender. That something greater is there apart from me, to which I have to surrender. And that is not denied in Advaita. In fact, Advaita doesn't deny spirituality to anyone, because it doesn't say this part of creation is bound, that part of creation is the Advitiya Vastu. No. Sadhagattile duvidam, sadhyatil adduvidam, Odugindra Vadamadum Unmayal. The Lakshman Sharmaji and Kanakammal, they say that is given to show that the Visishta Advaita, which is referred here, as well as the Dvaita, both are correct, both are incorrect. The Visishta Advaita is explicitly said that that is not the reality, and Dvaita is also said that it is not the reality. And the perfection of Advaita comes in saying that any exposition of Advaita is also unreal. Because as Bhagavan says, Ekam Aksharam Hridi Nirantaram Bhasate Swayam Likyate Katam. How to express it, how to write it, how to express the Mauna. The Spurana we have seen in the last few verses. The Spurana Bhagavan refers to is the Akand Akara Atma Vritti, let us say. It is the I. We saw in the previous verse that Aristotle too comes to the point of the unmoved mover, the self-contemplative supreme being. He says that self-contemplation is the highest of contemplation because that makes one unmoved. There is nothing other in self-contemplation. So the Supreme becomes unmoved by contemplating on his own or her own or its own ever-present nature. I am that I am. Be still and know that you are that, Tattvamasi. Be still and know that you are God. Be still, Tattvamasi. What is that? That is the unmoved mover, says Aristotle. That the self-attentive one is merely having that Swagata Bheda. The Swagata Bheda of I am attending to myself. And that Swagata Bheda, it is like a generator which creates a Sannidhi in which the entire creation is going on. That Sannidhi is called as witness in Buddhist meditation and in the Hindu meditation we have seen earlier. That Sannidhi itself, which does not have good or bad, which does not have cause or effect, that itself is called as the Sakshi. And from Sakshi is moved into the unmoved mover. The unmoved mover is the self-attentive Spurana. And Bhagavan doesn't even stop there. He says that the Advitiya Vastu doesn't even have this Swagata Beda. Where is the need to tell I? Where is the need to spirituify? Who wants to shine? For what? To whom? Just be. Sarvamum Tanai Nandra Satrumit Totiratin Shiravanam Tannalartham Sindanam Dhyanam Ganam Purivadal Ellam Tanai Purivadal Ellam Tanam Budhiser Easan Tanmai Maruvidum Matrum Mettam Madivarum Selvam Tane Sarvamum Tanai Nandrai. Everything is you. Where is the need to go anywhere? Where is the need to go out? Where is the need to go in? To N.V. Gunaji, who has come to Bhagavan, that story we recounted, where Bhagavan's biographer goes to Sai Baba's Sannidhi and gets God realization. He spends all his time subsequently in building temples for Sai Baba. And his biographer, one of his biographers, N.V. Gunaji, comes to Bhagavan, learns Atma Vicharam, and expresses his completion in 1949. When he comes to meet Bhagavan, Bhagavan completes the enquiry for him. When he says, "Oh Bhagavan, I am able to be in the natural silence, but then I come out. I am able to go in. I am able to go inside, because that is the Upadesha Bhagavan has given. Go in, be the self. Have all the grace, be the self." He says that there is a 12-year practice period, I think, 1939 or so. N.V. Gunaji says he first comes and takes the Upadesha, and in 1949 is the Kumbhabhishekam, and he has come for that. And there he asks Bhagavan that, "Oh Bhagavan, I am able to go in and I am also able to be silent, but then I come out. How to remain?" Then Bhagavan, he writes, Bhagavan laughed and said, "Only when a body is in reference, there is inside and outside. When you are the self, where is in, where is out?" So the final Veda is also removed for him by Bhagavan, because that Veda is created by thought. The Upadesham is initially given, go inward, because outward is the three-dimensional world, inward is all the higher dimensions. But then that inward journey also has to come and end the ego. The ego which divides us inside and out has to be extinguished. And all effort is not to gain the Advitiya Vastu. All effort is only to annihilate the ego, to dissolve the ego in that Advitiya Vastu, to dissolve all sense of separation into the Advitiya Vastu. That alone is the effort required. And the moment that is completed, the in and out is also completed. As mentioned in Yoga Vasishtam to Rama, when the in and out is also gone, then that which is, be still and Tattvamasi, and that thou art. Know that you are God. That the moving I, the roving I, the searching I is the Jiva. But what is within that? Within that, Hariyaditara Jivara, Ahavarisa Guhail, Arivai Rami, Paramattuman, the self-attentive one who is inside the roving one, is Ramana, who is ever present. And that Dhani, who is ever present, has given away that whole kingdom to all of us without exception. To everything in creation, he gives away that gift that you are all this and it cannot be anything else. That Tat Tvam Asi. Be still. Summa iru. And realize that Achala is Aruna. The Aruna, which is Achala, is the Supreme. That light of consciousness which has stopped all moving, as Bhagavan says, where can I go? Everything is He. Where can He go? Sarvamum Tanai Nandrai. Sarvamum Tane. Everything is the self only. No, 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 no. There is nowhere to go, nowhere to come from. Only be. Sarvamum Tanai Nandrai. Satrumit Totiratin. See the Advitiya teacher, what he does? He covers the whole area of bhakti. And Bhagavan says, Dakshinamurti Stotram itself was written by Shankara because he understood that the Maunopadesham, the supreme teaching of Mauna, cannot be assimilated by all beings, and different beings require different kind of ploddings, different kind of upliftment. And I have shared in the last session that there was a time in 1997 where the Ramana Maharshi Center for Learning and Akka and Mama also perhaps they were conducting in various schools, they were conducting the information programs where Bhagavan's teachings would be given. Some storytelling will be elicited from the children of the school. Some question answer quiz will be there. Some singing competitions will be there. And Archana was in a school, Aravindo, my daughter was in a school, which was under their umbrella. And they had come down there and given the book on Bhagavan. And fortunately for me, I had taken the role of giving her coaching or giving her teaching about the classes or whatever extracurricular entirely was with me. Curricular we had divided, and some part of the curriculum was with me. And since it was extracurricular, it was with me, and I had read through. Still the marker pen is there in that book, which is there with me. But I couldn't make head or tail about the who am I there or the greatness of Bhagavan. What a dhani we have got. What a great one has entered our lives. All this was not there. The feeling was not there. But Bhagavan must have known better. And he must have kindled something, though I could not still feel that. That's how it must have happened. That's why many devotees write not how we came to Bhagavan, how Bhagavan came to us, they write in Mountain Path. There were a series of articles. Many would write how we came to Bhagavan, and some started this. Both are same. There is no difference. But then at that time I couldn't make head or tail of who am I. I had gone through that whole who am I question answer. I did not make any connection at all. But then about 6 years later, when the thought observation, the witnessing had brought me up to some point and I could not proceed further, Bhagavan re-entered. And the re-entered great one, he says, now your task is to let go of that. I was like this. I did not know. I did not know. It was Bhagavan who told. All these stories, don't tell me, he says. Don't tell me all these stories. You have to ask for whom. For whom is this story that I was like this? This was my daughter. I had told her. For whom is this thought? It is for me. Who am I? Be still. He says two statements from the Bible are of utmost clarity. Be still and know that I am God, and I am that I am. See, the be still and know that I am God is sadhana. I am that I am is advitiya anubhava. And be still and know that I am God vanishes in I am that I am. The I am that I am consumes all the stories. The Tripudi, all the stories are in the Tripudi. Seer, seeing, seen. Describer, description, described. All the stories we account, all the journeys we account, all the bhakti we have done, all the karmas we have done, the phala we have experienced, all that is in the Tripudi. Is in the experiencer, experienced. Whereas in the Advitiya Anubhava, there is only the Advitiya Atma. The I, all those stories, and this alone is real. Tan Dasamanandriya, Tanai Tedum Kalatum, Tanai Adainda Kalatum. The Adainda itself is a misnomer. Like there is nothing like Adainda. It is just dropping of the veil of separation. The dropping of the veil of separation reveals that all that stories are not there. That I am never Nanda Kumar. The attachment to that is the veil that is covering. And none of us are the limited accretions we hold on to. And all that has to be done is to know that and to let go of that. Ahaminashapaji aham taya spurati hrut swayam paramapurnasar. Ahaminashapaji, when the ego is destroyed and all the stories that it told are simultaneously destroyed, then there are no stories to tell. There is nothing to account. And all stories are favorable. Because any story anybody tells, they say, I am facing the worst form of story. Nothing seems to be, everything is Brahme and everything seems to be in a great turmoil. I don't know where I am headed. Is there any feeling of disturbance to the Atma there? No, all disturbances come in the division, in the Tripudi. Bhagavan is that spiritual force, untouched by any kind of misery. It is untainted, it is unalloyed happiness. And that is our nature, he says. Why should we let go of that and reclaim some of the earlier, let us say, I went into this meditation class, did this, did that. All that is alloyed by misery. Why should we claim any of that? Be still, he says. Be still. Don't even claim that Bhagavan has given me such a blessing. Okay. Tell that, now shut up. All those experiences, all the spiritual paths have to finally merge in the Mauna and realize that Mauna alone is, the self alone is. Aridarkum, Arivittarkum, Anniyam Indrayavaru. There is nobody to tell. Tannai Aridalindri, Pinnai Arididil En. Tannai Arindapin, Pin Ennai Uladariya. The moment the I is realized, what else is there to know? There is nothing apart from that to know, because Sarvamum Tanai Nandrai. Everything is that self. Drop the ego, drop whatever can be dropped. That which cannot be dropped will remain and shine, says Bhagavan. Having come under the umbrella of this greatest Dhani ever, greatest teacher ever, let us sincerely carry through the Upadesha given, that don't even call me that. I am not a giver. I am not a teacher. I am the Supreme Being. You are reducing me by telling that I am the greatest Dhani ever, I am the greatest teacher ever, is a reduction in who Bhagavan really is. As Bhagavan says in the Mangalam to the work, self-enquiry, Vichara Sangraham, he says, how to adore the Supreme. It is so simple, but it is a Mahavakya. Bhagavan says, how to adore the Supreme, which is all, except by abiding firmly as that. How to adore the Supreme? Can I call him the Paramadhani, which he is? Can I call him the greatest teacher ever, which he is? All the teachers rolled into one is what Bhagavan is. But he says that is a stepping down. How to adore Bhagavan? How to adore the Supreme Being? Which is all, which is everything. Can you stand apart from him and say he is the greatest God, he has given me this? The moment you step outside, you feel you are other than him. You have caused a blemish. What blemish we can cause? Says, what better way to adore the Supreme, which is all, except to abide as that. Be all. Be that which is everything. Sarvamum tanay nantray. Be still. Tattvamasi. Be still and know Tattvamasi. That Supreme and the still I are one and the same. That is 37th verse for us. The broad brushstrokes have started. Sadhagattile duvidam, sadhyatthiladduvidam, odugindravaadamadum mummayala. Adaravai, tantedum kalam, tanayadainda kalam. Tan dasamanandriya. Always as the substrate. The rope is always there. Even when you see it as the fluttering, the hissing snake that is about to get in and bite you, even then, that rope is the rope only. The fluttering black plastic on the road, it is stuck in the tar and it is wavering while you are driving the scooter and you feel something is there. What is that? Close inspection reveals it is nothing. It is just a plastic bag. Everything is you. There is nothing apart from you. There is only the self. There is only the Dasaman. You are always the Karna. Rama is always Vishnu. The Abharana is always in the neck. And that thou art. Let us sit in practice till 8 o'clock when we will listen to our Akka. Let us still the I, dissolve the ego, so that the ever-present Bhagavan shines in all glory.
नमो भगवते श्रीरमणाय।
Namo Ramana. Namo Ramanaka.
Namo Ramana. Prostrations to Ramana, shining is the self in all beings. By the immense grace of the self manifest as Ramana, we are meditating on the verses of Ulladu Narpadu, and we are meditating on that verse wherein Nandakumarji has pointed out very sweetly that even to say that Bhagavan is the self manifest is not warranted, and then only we can say that it is His grace and other things. So Bhagavan is here taking us to the pinnacle of absolute being, where he says that there cannot be any division at any point of time. So Bhagavan would not acknowledge division in any manner. When he was asked by one of the lady devotees, the kitchen helpers, please strike down my mind. And Bhagavan said, sure, you make the mind come in front of me right now, and I will strike down your mind. Bring it and put it before me. So Bhagavan says, Naiva Manasam, there is no such thing as mind. Then what to say of the division? It is the mind which says there is one, and then there are two, and then there are many. Even to say there is one, where is the mind, says Bhagavan? Where is the reality to the mind which says there is one? So, Naiva Manasam, there is no such thing as mind at all, Bhagavan says. Very often he says this. And Professor K. Swaminathan had also reminded me about this truth of given to us by Bhagavan. A fact that I have shared earlier also. I used to write something called Adventures of Mr. Ego in the Ramana way. It was more out of a sense of fun, actually. The humor or the sense of laughing at one's own ego and the antics that the ego can come up with. Even now, sometimes we say the statement I have heard from many a devotee, actually, we realize the truth, but what to do? Our mind does not allow us to get back and abide over there. So we talk as if I am there and my mind is there and my mind is a separate entity from me and I want to do something, but my mind is not allowing me to do something. How many divisions we create, even within ourselves? We create a division, forget about that non dual self. We create a division between ourselves and our mind. We are not non dual even in the day-to-day existence, so-called. We are so many people. We are so divided that Bhagavan, the healer, the great healer, Professor S.K. Ramachandra Rao says he's a great healer. He brings us back to the healing touch of saying that there is no such division. There is no other, says Bhagavan. There is no other. So when I used to indulge in these stories, which are the antics of Mr. Ego, the adventures of Mr. Ego, and who wedded to desire in that story, and how the desire leads Mr. Ego to various experiences. And Bhagavan says that there is no such thing, Professor Swaminathan would say. He told her, he was very, very compassionate, very affectionate to me and all our family members, but he would never even want to hurt me by telling me that I am writing something which is not in keeping with Bhagavan's teachings in their core, in their essence, the teachings in the essence. So he would tell my father, why is our dear Sharada writing like this? Writing adventures of Mr. Ego. When Bhagavan says ego is non-existent, sir, he would call my father, sir, they would. So he would say, sir, why don't you tell our dear Sharda there is no such thing as ego? There is no such thing which is existent. That is what Bhagavan says. Even forget about the fact that the truth is always there. In this verse, he tells us that the truth is ever the truth, regardless of what the mirage may appear to be or the dream may appear to be. The truth does not change. And beautiful examples were given to us today, not only of the 10th man, but of Karna being Karna all the time. And of whatever the role, no matter if we go into a drama, we play so many roles when we enact dramas about Bhagavan or about devotees of Bhagavan. We may enact so many roles, but all through the enactment of all the roles, if I am enacting the role of a man, say of Satyamangalam Venkatramaiyer or some other drummer in Keelur, though I am enacting that role of a man, I do not forget at that time there is an underlying consciousness of being Sharda, which does not change. So I never cease to be Sharda no matter what roles I play. And in our pure dance, in Bharatanatyam, we have something which is called the Ekapatra Abhinaya. Because there is only one dancer. Unlike in the dance drama, where there are several actors, each to play one particular role, sometimes we may play with the costuming, sometimes the costume may not change, though the character changes. So we play that. But when there is an Ekapatra Abhinaya, because a solo Bharatanatyam dancer will depict through what is called Sanchari, the stories of Krishna, the stories of Rama, and it can be the stories of Bhagavan also. So supposing there is a story of Bhagavan being depicted by that dancer, and the dancer becomes for a moment Ganapati Muni, who in that moment of absolute anguish is coming to Bhagavan. He is crying and weeping, shedding tears of yearning at the feet of Bhagavan, washing his feet with those tears. That is also depicted by that dancer. And then the dancer turns around and becomes Bhagavan, sitting there, established in the self, and giving the Upadesha. So the Muni is also the same dancer. The Bhagavan is also the same dancer. They are not different, but they are just roles being played by the dancer. Or it may be a story of Rama, Ravana Yuddha. Rama is also the same dancer. Ravana is also the same dancer. They are all being depicted, but there is no division whatsoever. And the compassion of the self is such that if we want to understand that there is no division, then what experience of ours points to it? Of course, our deep sleep, where nothing exists. Where nothing exists apart from the self. There is no knowledge of anything apart from the self. But if we feel, oh, in waking I see so many things, then the Supreme has given us a bridge between these two experiences, which is the dream experience. And one of the devotees, one of the members of our center here, Raghavendra, he had a dream. He had a dream, and in that dream, he and his brother-in-law, Dilip, they were going to see one sadhu. And the sadhu, they went to him, they prostrated to him, and the sadhu began to speak to them in Sanskrit. Whose dream? It is Raghavendra's dream. And Raghavendra, in his dream, he tells the sadhu, I am sorry, I do not know, I am not conversant with Sanskrit, but my brother in law Dilip is conversant. So you can speak to him in Sanskrit. So they have a conversation. The brother in law Dilip and the sadhu, they have a conversation. In this dream, they have the conversation in Sanskrit. Then Raghavendra wakes up. When he woke up, Bhagavan blessed him with one question. The question was, okay, I had this dream. Now, who were the people in my dream? Who were all the people in my dream? Was there a real Dilip? Was there a sadhu? They were all part of my own mind. Or, in other words, they were I myself. They were I myself, because every thought is I myself. There is no such division, I and my mind, I and my thoughts. In one sense, we divide it. For purposes of sadhana, we give all these divisions. But ultimately, are there so many? Are there even two? Is there even one? Asks Bhagavan. So, Raghavendra realized, he said, my goodness, the sadhu in my dream who spoke Sanskrit, that was also me. My brother-in-law in my dream who conversed with him in Sanskrit, that was also me. And Raghavendra in my dream who confessed to ignorance about Sanskrit was also me. The knower of Sanskrit was also me. The ignorant one was also me. So where is the division? Where is the division? When we look at our dreams, we see that there is no such division at all. The entire world is contained within us. If this is the possibility of a limited being, if we call ourselves limited beings, then we can remember Bhagavan's first verse. Again, Bhagavan's verse wherein he says, Chittiramum parpanum serpadamum arodayum attanayum tanamavan. There is nothing apart from the self. There is no such division. So what does it imply? What does this imply? In our sadhana, the fact that there is no ignorance. So what does it imply? Does it imply, if we can take that statement with total faith, if we are ready to take that statement of Bhagavan with total faith, then the story will be over at that moment. But if there is vacillation, then this verse actually highlights the significance of self-inquiry as a sadhana. Because every other sadhana gives reality to the sadhaka. Whereas in self-inquiry, the reality of the sadhaka is questioned from the beginning. The bluff is being called from the beginning. Right from the beginning, the illusion is being questioned. That is why Bhagavan has given us this sadhana, this very beautiful sadhana of self-inquiry, which helps us to keep in harmony with the truth that there is no division. That this division is only an illusory division, if at all, because of the illusory nature of the very one who experiences a division. And to recognize that by turning the searchlight back on the illusion itself. Just as in the 10th man story, the men were made to count. The wayfarer did not tell them, no, you are confused, you are ignorant. There are actually 10 of you. No, it was a practical demonstration of the fact that there are 10 people. So Bhagavan says in Ramana Gita also, in this path one gets the abhyasa and the final stage are not different, says Bhagavan. In keeping with this teaching of his, he says, when you dip into the self, even for a second, even for a minute or so, the experience is not different. It cannot be different. It is not as if the practice in self-inquiry is different from the sadhya, the sadhana and the sadhya are one and the same thing. However, steadiness is required and will happen through the verse which Nanda Kumar ji quoted at the beginning, the Appalam part is Santatam Salipara Santoshamagave. When one is blessed to do the enquiry in this manner, keeping in mind all the time the truth, that again, which is reiterated by Bhagavan in Ekana Panchakam, his final teaching, that there cannot be a separate entity because everything is contained in the self. We search within for the self, but actually Bhagavan says, Tannul Tanuvirukka, when even the body is in the self, there is a question of saying self is within me. But that is done till Ulaga Sanchara Kanavin Vijittale Kan, until this dream of so-called separation, until one wakes up from this dream, this beautiful boat of self-inquiry is given to us to ride on and get across the illusion which is not. Such is the grace that manifests though unmanifest, that appears to manifest so long as we are in an apparent world. It also appears to manifest to make us recognize that the truth is unmanifest, boundless, non-dual, and even these words, Bhagavan says, are an extravagance to describe it. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramananjali.
Namo Ramanaka.
Namo
Namo Ramanaka. Thank you very much.
Ramananjali.
Ramananjali, Hridayanjali, Ramananjali, Ramananjali, Ramananjali.